It's no longer news that the Central Bank of Nigeria directed deposit money banks to remove the rate of cap on the Naira at the official investors and exporters window of the foreign exchange market to breach the gap between the official and parallel market rates of the Naira. Since then, the Naira has fallen from 460 to about 752 Naira to the dollar at the official investor and exporter window, about 815 Naira to the dollar in the black market. Economy watchers predict that Nigeria's exports may rise to at least 41.9 trillion naira in months to come after naira devaluation. We have joining us from Lagos, Ayodeji Ebo, an economist, managing director at the Optimus by Afri Invest, for his view on the expected effectiveness of naira devaluation on economic growth in Nigeria. Hello, Mr. Ebo.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, to begin with, can you give us your take on the unification of the naira by the CBN?
Okay, thank you. I think the unification of the foreign exchange is a positive move. However, that is not a silver bullet in solving our FX problem. So that is just only one step. And our view is that then it needs to be backed up with supply, because if it's not backed up with supply, it means that we would go back to the normal situation where we have that divergence between the official and the parallel markets. And now that we are pursuing, we call it a crawling peg, which is that means that we'll continue to see the depreciation or devaluation of the naira. So I would say it is a bold step. It's a positive one, and it's effectively taking away speculative transactions or round tripping in that market.
Okay.
No subsidized FX for anyone again. And that would in itself now boost revenue even for the government. The FAT allocation conversion used to be at the FI&E window, that's the NAFEX rate, which was around 464 naira to a dollar. Now it's almost going to increase by almost 60. When you look at the valuation, let's say like 30% rather, which would have more revenue for the government to distribute, both from the federal to the state and the local government. So I believe it's a positive one, but for us not to waste this step, we need to support it with supply. That's even from the CBN. So with that, confidence will improve, and we begin to see more inflow through the official market.
Now, before that happens, would you say the timing is right?
Yeah, I would say the timing is right, because you would also agree with me that 80% of Nigerians were accessing dollars at the parallel markets. So we don't expect much impact on imports. When I say import, products that are imported into the country beyond crude, we don't expect much impact because most of them have been buying dollars in the parallel market. So it's just like we're playing the ostrich. That should have been done a long time ago and supported with supply. We may not be at this current level if we are taking that decision a while ago, but it's still better late than never. But one condition I will continue to emphasize is to boost confidence. Supply is also very key if we don't want to waste this move. Thank you.
Okay, before I go to the next question, there's this question I would like to ask you. In your own opinion, which policies do you think should accompany this so that to boost supply of the required dollars we need so that to stabilize the market?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, short term is that CBN needs to be bold to supply more to the market. so that, and they also need to clear backlogs. Even if our reserves would deplete by another 10 or $15 billion, and there's confidence, I believe it will increase over time again. We'll begin to see inflow. Secondly, there's a need to work on interest rates. Yes, why the government wants a lower interest rate, there's what we call the trilemma. So it's very difficult to achieve a stable exchange rate, and you also want to achieve positive growth rate, and your interest rate, you also want it to be low. Um, Lower inflation rate, and you also want your interest rate to be low.
Yeah.
So I believe in the interim, interest rate also has to move to attract foreign portfolio investors. Yes, it may have its impact on companies in terms of cost of funds, but FX too, if it moves, it also impacts on the cost of production, because most inputs to production has FX elements. So there needs to be a balance. So if we're able to do that, then in long term, we need to work more on increasing our exports, trying to work on the process of exporting through even the Apapa port and the other ports to make it seamless. Look at those products and see how we can begin to provide support for exports. And that will generate more earnings for us in Nigeria, and we begin to see that improvement in supply. Overall, if we sustain this unification, round tripping would be taken care of, speculative opportunity will be taken care of, and would begin to see that reality. Everybody can plan, and there will be confidence in the economy.
Okay, now, yesterday, President Tinubu says removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of Nigeria's exchange rates are expected to contribute to the creation of a more competitive economy in the country. What do you see playing out in the financial markets?
Okay, thank you. So what I believe would help, we would see, looking at the oil and gas sector now, we would begin to see more business activity within that space. The NNPC has been the sole importer of PMS within that space. So we heard that about 6 companies were also licensed. So we'll begin to see activities, we'll begin to see also refineries also spring up, and they'll sign off take arrangements. So we'll begin to also see that would improve activity within the oil and gas space. And we believe that while it's really going to be painful now, we need to begin to see that uh, support. I will not say direct palliative. So the savings, the implied savings, should begin to be channeled into infrastructure to ease business. So if we see that they begin to ease business, and while insecurity has to be taken very seriously. I was speaking with a very a farmer some days ago, and stating that a lot of the farmers in the north had almost even moved to almost Abuja. They could not farm, but a bit of maybe. So if we can sustain that, food inflation will come down if we can easily plant this season. And that, with the commodity exchange that is also being set up, would also help in normalizing prices over the year.
Okay, some experts said the value of Nigeria's export may rise to at least 41.9 trillion after the floating of the Naira. How do you see the floating of Naira affecting our exports?
For exports, what I see is that it means that you require more Naira to export. That's the implication. Yes, we require more Naira to export, and that effectively will reduce the demand. However, it makes our goods also very competitive and increase Naira revenue, because when we export and earn dollars, it increase our dollar revenue. So we believe that over time, if we ramp up our exports, that will also increase our Naira revenue, and that would help or improve So people would see our goods will be more cheaper based on the valuation, and will begin to set up factories. But it's not just about the devaluation and the amount of Naira revenue that we get. There are a lot of other policies, and that's why, based on what is being said, there needs to be a sync between the fiscal and the monetary policies. We need to take care of insecurity so that it will be more favorable for people to set up companies in Nigeria. Power, can we do a lot to save the cost of power by the time they set up power station and improve power generation in the country, so that it is cheaper to produce in Nigeria rather than producing in neighboring countries to create more jobs? Yeah.
Okay, well, before I let you go, the dollar seems to have become a kind of most scarce since the devaluation. In the aviation sector, for instance, airlines have increased fares in the last few weeks. Can that be attributed to forex scarcity?
Okay, thanks. From what the news on the streets, I don't think CBN has really intervened in the last few days. So there's a need for CBN to supply and increase dollars. There's a need to clear backlogs. So if we just remove the peg, we will not achieve unification, because demand, people are just still waiting whether they can get dollars at the official window for those that are legit, those that are allowed to access dollars within that space.
Okay.
However, those that are not allowed, they will continue to go to the black market, which will cause a lot of disparity. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji Ebo, an economist, managing director at Optimus by AfriInvest. Thank you for sharing your thought with us. Now, moving on. Are you a furniture maker without a facility?